Hi. I don't recall when I first knew that I loved science. I do recall my first aha moment. I was playing in a field and the cottonwoods were blowing that cottony seed all over, and I scooped up some. And I was quite sure that I had discovered a new crop. I still recall that elation, running home with my fistfuls of fluff, and it was such a joy. Okay, such wonder about discovery. My science teachers were nuns, and they were smart and top-notch. They were creative. I also loved scouts, Girl Scouts. The women who organized and taught us and took us camping and organized our cookie drives were fearless and organized. And in my life, I saw women doing all the things that I loved. In high school, I coached grade school girls sports, and I learned that I really enjoyed interacting with young women. So I've always enjoyed being in the company of girls and women. I've always loved science. And I thought that everyone who wanted to do science would have that opportunity. But in this journey, I learned that opportunity didn't exist for everyone. I entered a small Catholic college majoring in chemistry, and we were required to create an individual focus program, which would culminate in a thesis. And I chose to study women. And I took classes on women in history and politics and literature and art. And I saw so much that was inspiring beyond my discipline of chemistry. It was very rewarding. I convinced the faculty to allow me to do community service instead of writing a thesis. And I began working in the greater Cincinnati area with a women's center, giving speeches on preventing rape and abuse, working as an advocate. And most importantly, I joined a group of women who were creating a newsletter called Every Woman's View. I learned to interview and write on issues related to women's empowerment and politics. I immersed myself in a world of women dedicated to change through action. I attended my first women's conference, and I heard Sheila Tobias speak about girls and math anxiety. It was all very inspiring. I took a job as a chemist after college, but due to demoralizing sexual harassment, I decided to return to graduate school. At the time, all I knew was that I needed to get out because I was unable and powerless to make change at that time. I was stunned when I arrived at graduate school and discovered that most of my peers were men. There was only a handful of female students and only 2 or 3 female faculty. My experience as an undergraduate had been very different. I decided that I wanted to ensure that girls were encouraged to enter STEM careers, and I worked on programs. And my focus was on providing excitement as well as role models to girls. And we created science camps. I was also active in the Association for Women in Science, and we supported each other. But I was only able to do limited outreach until I was tenured. And then once I was tenured, I was reinvigorated by understanding that there were so many other issues that I still needed to learn about, and that I couldn't control some of the problems in spite of my encouragement to girls. And I began team teaching with my gender studies colleagues in order to learn more about the social sciences and how to understand the obstructions and biases deterring women, and learn the tools that they would use to study and then make change. When it was clear that bias and discrimination were not just a social problem, but an economic issue, more people started to pay attention. I was able to create STEM courses for students to learn about diversity and equity and inclusion, the research and the practices. I was director of our campus Women in Learning and Leadership, faculty advisor to student organizations. I kept learning. I kept observing. I kept realizing what some of the issues were that I hadn't even recognized before. After being awarded the Sarah Goddard Power Award, in large part due to the science camps and the outreach, I became active in the Academic Women's Caucus, and then later chair of the Sarah Goddard Power Committee, and then co-chair. It was a wonderful group of women. They had regular meetings, but they also served a sense of support. Someone would call with a problem and they would go to answer it. The first time I was on the selection committee for the Sarah Goddard Power Award, it was kind of like a little spy movie scene. Cynthia, who was chair, asked to meet me at Briarwood Mall in this little dark recess. And I went up and she shoved this brown bag, literally a grocery bag, at me. It was full of applications because this was before we were using Dropbox for everything. It was just so rewarding and yet so much fun to work with and learn from all these women. About the awards, it's so rewarding to confirm and share the wonderful work of these people who are supporting the University of Michigan women staff, students, administrators, and faculty. But what was really wonderful was seeing what others had accomplished. These awardees are trailblazers, strategizers, movers, shakers. They see problems and they took action. It's enormously important to share the stories. And over time, I realized that I no longer wanted to focus on obstructions, but to research the successful traits, the experiences, and the choices and motivations of women in STEM. All right, what kept them going? It's a global issue for women, but stories can provide insight for many others who are suffering from discrimination. This is the third of my career life. So while trying to change old practices and initiate new programs, I found that audiences were most interested in learning how to be successful in what seems to be an obstacle course, not a path. They wanted to hear how someone solved a problem, how they hung in there. I realized that we needed not just mentoring, but more and more examples and stories that exemplify resilience and share the narratives of the women who have been successful in spite of adversity. A small research study that I conducted indicated that nearly 80% of the women rated stories and biographies as very important to them. Stories resonate, they inspire, they provide navigation to those who need a path. Humans connect and learn from stories in which they see themselves or the struggles of someone else. I've always loved biographies, and oral history combined with research, it's potent. I want to find the common themes and share these narratives for those that need guidance. That's my path, and everyone has something to share. A lot of individuals, they helped me in my journey. I learned from others' experiences. So now the work that I want to continue to do is to share the stories to support women on their journeys to success. Some, like young women and girls, might need a roadmap. Others just need a little help, a little roadside assistance. I want to continue to do this work so that everyone who wants a career in STEM is able to have it. Thank you.